Politics and diplomacy in Renaissance Italy. During the Italian Renaissance, two important ideas in the modern political system took hold: modern diplomacy and power politics. The idea of a permanent ambassador in foreign countries changed during the Italian Renaissance because of the tumultuous political situation in Italy. A large number of states existed, many so small that their security was easily threatened by their neighbors. To survive, the Italian states began to send resident diplomatic agents to each other to ferret out useful information. With the use of permanent resident agents or ambassadors, the conception of the purpose of diplomacy changes. We are at the beginning of modern politics when the interests of the state supersede all other considerations. However, no one gave better expression to Renaissance preoccupation with political power than Niccolo Machiavelli. He entered the service of the Florentine Republic in 1498 and became an ambassador in France and Germany, where he saw the workings of statecraft firsthand. Since Italy had been invaded in 1494, Machiavelli was active during a period of Italian tribulation and devastation. Machiavelli was sent into exile where he reflected on political power in The Prince. His major concerns in the work were the acquisition and expansion of power as the means to restore order in his time. From Machiavelli's point of view, a prince's attitude towards power must be based on an understanding of human nature, which he saw as selfish and cruel. Political activity, therefore, could not be restricted by moral considerations. Because of the ideas in The Prince, Machiavelli is often considered the founder of modern secular power politics. Italian city-states differed in size, shape, and form. Some were large seaports, others small inland villages. The absence of a unifying central authority in Italy, resulting from the collapse of Charlemagne's empire and the Great Schism, allowed for merchant guilds and families to transform themselves into self-governing societies. Although there were dozens of Italian city-states, by the early 15th century, 5 had emerged to dominate the politics of the peninsula. In the south was the Kingdom of Naples, number 1, the only city-state governed by a hereditary monarchy. Its politics were mired by conflicts over its succession, and it was not until the Spaniard Alfonso I of Aragon took the throne in 1443 that peace was restored. Number 2, Papal States. Bordering Naples in central Italy were the Papal States, ruled by the Pope, and whose capital was Rome, but whose territory stretched far into the north and included the fiercely independent city-states of Bologna, Ferrara, and Urbano. In the violent arena of Italian politics, the papacy, an uneasy mixture of worldly splendor and religious authority, was a player like the other states. The vicars of Christ negotiated treaties, made war, built opulent palaces. Even a few led scandalous lives. Pope Alexander VI, the most notorious and bitter enemy of Savonarola, kept a mistress and fathered several children, including Caesar Borgia, a popular leader in Rome who served as the model, ruthless leader in Machiavelli's The Prince. Julius II was known as the warrior pope due to his constant warring. The Pope's concern with politics stemmed from their desire to restore papal authority, greatly undermined by the Great Schism and the Conciliar movement. The 3 remaining dominant city-states were clustered together in the north. Number 3, Florence. Center of Renaissance culture, was one of the wealthiest cities of Europe. Although the city itself was inland, its main waterway, the Arno River, ran to the sea through Pisa, who the Florentines conquered in 1406. Florence was normally a republic, except for the 15th century, where it was ruled by the Medici family. Number 4, Milan. To the north of Florence was the city of Milan, the major city in Lombardy. It, too, was landlocked, cut off from the sea by Genoa. However, Milan's economic life was more oriented northward to the Swiss and German towns beyond the Alps, and major concern was preventing foreign invasions, thus making it the most warlike. Milan was ruled strictly by a series of military leaders, usually familial. The last of the five powers was the Republic of Venice. Ideally situated at the head of the Adriatic Sea, it became the leading maritime power in Europe during the Renaissance. It also controlled outposts during the Greek and Dalmatian coasts, and its favored position among the Byzantines in Constantinople was the source of its incredible wealth. Its republic was ruled by a hereditary state, headed by an elected Doge who was the chief magistrate of Venice. For the most part, it was an oligarchy. Under constant attack from the east, Venice drew strength from its internal cohesion. Under the rule of an oligarchy of aristocratic merchants, Venice enjoyed stability, and its maritime empire benefited all citizens of all social classes, who joined efforts to defend the interests of the most serene republic, a name that reflected Venice's lack of social strife. The complete opposite, the Republic of Florence, was in constant agitation, responsive to political conflicts, new ideas, and artistic styles. Florentine society was turbulent as social classes and political factions engaged in constant civic strife. By 1434, the Medici family emerged dominant in Florence. Cosimo de' Medici is responsible for much of this. A ruthless man, he was also head of one of the largest banks of Europe, and he used his immense wealth to influence politics. Even though he did not hold any formal political office, he wielded influence in government through business associations and clients who were indebted to him for loans, political appointments, and other favors. As the largest bank in Europe, the Medici Bank handled even papal finances and established branch offices throughout the continent. Backed by his immense private wealth, Cosimo became the financer of war and peace and the regulator of law. Yet the prosperity and security that Florence enjoyed made him popular as well. His grandson, Lorenzo the Magnificent, continued his policies while becoming a great patron of the arts. This is not to say that opponents were not lacking. After Lorenzo's death in 1494, these opponents, led by Dominican friar Girolamo Savonarola, the Medicis were briefly driven out of Florence. Unlike the Republic of Florence, the area of Milan was under dynastic rule. Milan was a military state uninterested with the arts, but possessed a first-class armaments and textile industry, and had a rich farmland throughout the region of Lombardy. Until 1447, Milan was ruled by the Visconti dynasty, a group of powerful lords whose plan to unify all of central and northern Italy failed under the combined opposition of Venice and Florence. In 1447, the last Visconti died without heir, and the nobility proclaimed Milan to be a republic. This was to be short-lived, however. For 3 years, the new republic struggled to maintain its strength, and smaller cities within Lombardy began to rebel. With Venice and Florence now looking to take advantage of Milan's weakness, the Milanese nobility sought out mercenary help. They appointed Francesco Forza, a consigliere from Romagna, who had married an illegitimate daughter of the last Visconti ruler, to the post of general. He quickly turned against his employers, claimed Milan as his own. The townspeople rallied to Forza, who took Milan in 1450.